Hey, Washington Campus, Brad here with some encouragement and a look ahead at what's going to be happening this coming weekend. But first, I want to talk about Little Orphan Annie. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you recognize that name? Well, let's talk about it for a little bit. I did some research this week, and I didn't know this, but originally, Little Orphan Annie was a poem. It was a poem that was then adapted into a comic strip. And this is back in the 1920s, 1930s. Well, the comic strip was so successful, they made some movies out of it. And after the films came out, well, then they later did a Broadway musical that was hugely successful. And then they took the musical and made that into movies. And so Little Orphan Annie is part of our culture, a reference point that many of us are familiar with her story. But if not, just a quick summary, and I won't go too much into detail on this, but she's obviously an orphan, has a very difficult life. I believe it's a hard knock life, right? And a difficult life, but she gets adopted into a family who has incredible wealth and means, and her life changes dramatically. Lots of up and downs in the middle, but that basically is the story of Little Orphan Annie. And what strikes me as very fascinating and interesting is if you think of books, if you think of movies, even comic books, how common, how prevalent the theme is of the main character being an orphan. I mean, it seems like every Charles Dickens book has an orphan at its center. We have famous, well-beloved stories like Anne of Green Gables or Jane Eyre is a novel. If you think of movies, right, you have, or more modern books, Harry Potter, the story of that orphan. Any Star Wars fans? You got Luke Skywalker. I mean, he's kind of an orphan. I know it's a little bit complicated, but his dad's out of the picture in the picture. We know what I'm talking about. So this is very common. Think about superheroes, right? Superman's an orphan. Batman's an orphan. Robin's an orphan. What is it about us that makes this story of an orphan so commonplace? Why do we write about this so much? Why does it show up in so many books, so many movies, so much in our literature and in our world? Well, I think that there's something there. I think there's something within the human heart that longs to be taken out of our present situation into a new situation that is so much better beyond our wildest dreams. Not that we all hate our present condition, but I think there's something in us that longs to be taken out of our present circumstances and placed into something better. Well, why am I talking about orphans and Little Orphan Annie in this storyline? Well, because I hope you're aware of this, but one of the amazing things in Scripture, what Scripture teaches us, is the doctrine of adoption. And that is that when we place our faith and trust in Jesus Christ, God says He adopts us into His family. He says it this way in Galatians chapter 4, verse 5. It says that Jesus came so that He might redeem us, might buy us out of something, take us out of something. That's what happens when you get redeemed, or when you redeem something. We're taken out of something and placed into something. So it says that Jesus came so that He might redeem those who were under the law, and here it is, that we might receive the adoption as sons. Jesus came to redeem us, and so that we would receive the adoption as sons and daughters. Well, I'm excited because this Sunday I'll be preaching live as we continue the sermon series on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. And we're going to be taking a deep dive into Galatians chapter 4, verses 1 through 7. And there's some incredible truth in these verses. Namely, it talks about what God does in this adoption, how we are set free from what enslaved us, and we are adopted into God's family. I would love to go into it now, but I'm going to save it for Sunday. So let me, as always, encourage you, if you have some time between now and Sunday, read, if you can, skim through all of Galatians, but especially read those verses in Galatians chapter 4, verses 1 to 7. And I am so excited we're going to unpack that on Sunday morning together. And so, reminder, hope you can join us in person at the Washington campus, 2 services, 9 and 10:45. We're also going to be celebrating communion together as a church family, so would love to see you in person at the Washington campus. Don't forget about VBS. We need volunteers. We need supplies. You can sign up at the website BibleChapel.org. You can go there and sign up to volunteer for the Washington campus. Also, we have a way, if you want to help with supplies, if you're able to do that, you can do that through Amazon. You can purchase them and they will come directly to us. We would greatly appreciate that as well. But we are looking forward to VBS June 21st to the 25th. So we're excited. Lots of things happening. I'm just excited to see, and as we're seeing what God is doing at our campus. So again, hope to see you this Sunday, 9 or 10:45. But until then, as always, let's press on.